What's happening, people? We are here. We are live. First and foremost, a happy Friday to everybody that's locked in. Big up to everyone. It's Friday. The sun's not really out, but it's Friday. So that's the only positive. Football's back tomorrow with the Euros around the 16 kicking off. So we got a preview stream coming for that tomorrow, probably earlier in the day. Big up to everyone that's locked in. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. If you want to join the Minions gang, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content, and of course you get to support the growth of the channel. Today is a busy one. We've got a lot of streams coming on the channel today. It's basically Minna being locked in her studio all day or all evening, because we got this stream. Then around 6 p.m. UK time, we've got a kind of transfer roundup one for all kind of clubs, not just Manchester United focused. So we're going to talk quite a bit about that. Apparently Liverpool are in for Anthony Gordon. Interesting. And then after, later this evening, we got an Elden Ring live gameplay episode 1, if you want to call it that, for all my Elden Ringers, for all my gamers, or even if you're not into gaming and you just want to see me make a fool of myself, be sure to come through for that, because that is gonna be, oh my god, I'm absolutely dreading it. Today I had a car ride with my nephew who's platinumed it on PlayStation, and just couldn't believe that I was about to put myself through this and try and play this game. So it's going to be a fun one. But big up to everyone. Big up to everyone locked in. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. We've got a bit to talk about today. The popular topics, the topics that we've been talking about the most over the last week or so. Zirkzee and Ugarte. Seems like Manchester United are favouring Ugarte over Onana. I don't know if it's more to do with the price tag or maybe how more likely they are to get that deal done. But we're going to talk about that and see and kind of understand why United would go for Ugarte over Onana, especially because Onana has been a name that's kind of been in the air even during the season as well. So we're going to talk about that. Bologna reportedly forcing Zirkzee to make a decision by the end of this week. Of course, he's at the Euros with the Netherlands. So I don't know how likely that is, but it's being reported that because of, you know, the vibes from AC Milan has kind of cooled down, that he is kind of leaning more towards Manchester United. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And what else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about, I don't even know what else we're going to talk about. I just got a bunch of stuff here up on my screen. We're going to talk a little bit about Marcus Rashford, of course. What's a United stream if we don't talk about Marcus Rashford and the reports of interest from PSG and Saudi, which is a very weird one. So we're going to talk about that, not too much in detail because we touched on it yesterday. And of course, we're going to talk about Kobbie Mainoo, expected to make a start for England in the round of 16 in the coming days. A very interesting decision taken by Gareth Southgate. Apparently, Paul Scholes has been ripping into certain players on Instagram. The funniest thing to ever happen is Paul Scholes having access to social media, because they let him have Instagram and now he's just running riot, sending shots at Saka, sending shots at Declan Rice, sending shots at Gareth Southgate. I love it. I absolutely love it. But we're going to talk about that. So big up to everyone that's locked in. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe on this wonderful Friday. What are we going to start with? Let's start with this. Benny McCarthy expected to leave Manchester United. That's kind of guaranteed that he will be leaving. Andy Mitten reported it late last night. It's guaranteed that he will be leaving when his contract ends. Essentially one of Erik ten Hag's backroom staff. I think he was like the striker coach as well, that worked quite closely with the forwards, with the Rashfords, the Hoylands, etc. He will leave amid this reshuffle that's happening with Manchester United right now. So the first one bites the dust. The first member of the coaching staff bites the dust. There's not really any news yet on Mitchell van der Gaag, and there's not really much news either on Steve McLaren. It's expected that Steve McLaren's role will change, but he will stay at the club. And it's expected that Mitchell van der Gaag, Erik ten Hag's right-hand man, his Dutch brother, is going to leave as well. Of course, we got Rene Hacker that's coming in, and Ruud van Nistelrooy. So it does seem like it's a big shake-up. It's a big shake-up. One more week as well, I think, until Omar Barada starts his role as CEO of Manchester United. So it looks like everything Sir Jim Ratcliffe was kind of promising when he came in, saying to get the results on the pitch right, you have to get the back end stuff done. And that's what it seems that they've done. They've rebranded in terms of the boardroom. They've rebranded in the bigger roles, i.e. CEO, director of football, sporting director, all of that kind of stuff. And now they are doing the little shake up with the coaching staff. The medical team is another situation as well that they're probably going to be looking at. But just to briefly start with, Benny McCarthy will leave Manchester United as well. Another person that will not be returning to Manchester United next season is this guy here, Sufyan Amrabat. I'm laughing because one of my siblings got a Sufyan Amrabat shirt, and I think Lil Yo-Yo got one as well. But it's expected that Manchester United do not plan. They have no intention of triggering his option to buy, which means he will be returning back to Fiorentina. I think Fiorentina will sell him. It's just a matter of where he goes. He does have a preference to be in the Premier League. I remember Liverpool being in for him and other Premier League clubs as well. So I definitely think he'll get some options, especially at the price tag that he's available at. What is it, 25 million euros? I think he's going to be. It's very unfortunate that United are not going for him, but I understand why. He never really got his moment to kind of shine consistently. It was very what's the word, inconsistent, but that inconsistency also falls in line with the fact that he was inconsistently in and out of the lineup. There was a point of time, I think it was after AFCON, where he returned from AFCON with Morocco, that he was just not playing at all. He wasn't on the bench. He wasn't even getting 1 or 2 minutes here off the bench in the last couple of minutes. He just was not playing. So I kind of understand that there's no future for him. I mean, it will be interesting to see if Manchester United do bring in a midfielder. And of course, we're going to come to the midfielder talk. If they do bring in a midfielder, if they're bringing in 1 or 2, I do think United do need 2 midfielders. I think they need one that's going to be the starter. I don't ever think Sufyan Amrabat was going to be that starter, but I did think that Sufyan Amrabat could potentially have been, that player that you bring in 20 minutes left in the game to kind of shut up shop. That player that you bring in, when your starting midfielder is unavailable, out to injury, etc., etc. I just thought he was a steady Eddie, gets the job done. But of course, I think with the pace of the Premier League, and sometimes I think his mobility is a bit slow. You could see some flaws in his game. So I kind of understand why United have opted not to go for him. Now, United will be going for a midfielder, like I mentioned. It's just a matter of who will it be right now or over the last, I would say. It's funny because Amadou Onana was the player that we've been linked to for about a year. I'd say the best part of 8 months. Amadou Onana was a player that United were linked to. I remember him before he joined Everton. I really had high hopes for him. And I do think he's the guy that Everton are hoping to cash in on alongside Jared Brantwaite. Of course, Everton are making moves as well. I don't know if you are watching, but they're making moves in the transfer window right now. And it seems like between the two of these, who have relatively similar price tags, I think the price tag surrounding Amadou Onana is about 60 million. And the price tag surrounding Manuel Ugarte is around 50 million. It's basically exactly what PSG paid for, paid Sporting for when they brought him. Now, which one does Manchester United favour? It's been reported yesterday that Manchester United favours Manuel Ugarte because they feel like they can get the deal done with PSG. They think the negotiations will be a lot more smoother than Everton will. Everton will hold out for a big fee. It's inevitable. And PSG are in to sign Amadou. Listen to this. PSG want to sign Amadou Onana as an Ugarte replacement. Like, we're basically funding. Essentially, what I see happening is that United will fund PSG buying Onana by buying Ugarte off them. And it's reported that it's guaranteed, nearly 99% likely, that Manuel Ugarte will leave PSG this summer. Manchester United have shown the most interest out of all the other clubs and are willing to meet PSG's demands. However, there are some other clubs that are in for him, including Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and Atletico Madrid. Manuel Ugarte reportedly, and this is about an hour ago, this is coming out about an hour ago, from ESPN Uruguay, that Manuel Ugarte is close to joining Manchester United and the move is very likely to happen. Now, what kind of player do you lot think? Because I'm very interested at the fact that United are moving more towards Ugarte over Onana, given the fact that Ugarte was a player that's just come out of nowhere. He's come out of nowhere in terms of the links. Onana was a player that United had been linked to for some time or had been rumoured to be looking. I remember when I was filming a fan view outside of Old Trafford after Everton versus United, and Onana literally just walks past behind me and flex. It was so random. So random. Let me see what you lot are saying in the chat. If we go for Onana, they're going to charge another 80 million for Brantwaite. If United go for him because they know the money is there, that's true. I think United go for one or the other. I think they go for Onana or they go for Brantwaite. It's more likely that United want Brantwaite than they want Onana. So it makes sense for them to kind of, if they're going to negotiate with Everton, it's going to be for Branthwaite. It's very unlikely, that they'll get both. Big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to Broderick. Big up to Kenny. Big up to Twalumba as well. Twalumba says, I don't want any of these players. I don't think Twalumba is impressed at all with any of these players. I think it's funny because I don't know, guys, if you lot feel the same, because I do this every day and I obviously keep up with United news pretty much every single day. Do you guys ever feel like it's just player after player after player that United are linked to a point where it's very hard to predict even who United are actually going for? Because not so long ago, it was Yusuf Fofana. Not long before that, it was Amadou Onana. Not long before that, we were hearing talk about maybe João Neves, but of course he's got the 120 million release clause. Every couple of weeks, I feel like the goalposts shift and the goalposts move with the players that United are linked to. And that's why I'm saying Manuel Ugarte, that kind of link just came out of nowhere, because it's not a player that I anticipated United would be in for personally. I know that PSG are looking to do a little bit of a overhaul, but them man over there in Paris, they're doing an overhaul every summer. Every summer, they're getting rid of bare players and they're bringing in bare players as well. So obviously, I think now is the time for PSG to build a squad rather than building a squad around Mbappe. And it makes sense that they're getting rid of players that kind of don't fit whatever it is they're trying to build. Oh yeah, there was Rabiot as well. Yeah, Rabiot was just like a week ago after he played the first game of the Euros was so good that the links came back again. That's why it's very hard for me to predict who's going to be Manchester United's midfielder next summer. However, one thing I will say is that I don't think a midfielder will be the first signing. I don't think a defender will be the first signing. I think a striker will be the first signing. We're going to come to it. We're going to talk about Zirkzee, but I do think Zirkzee might be the first signing. Or if United do make a first signing, it will be a Jared Branthwaite. It won't be a midfielder. I think the midfielder talk is the one that's going to take some time to kind of get through and kind of negotiate. It's funny because outside of England, I feel like every club is making moves. Marseille are getting active. Fiorentina are getting active. So many clubs in Europe are getting active in the transfer window so far. And in England, I feel like the transfer window is moving very, very... I don't know if it's just me that feels like this, but the transfer window is moving very, very slow. And I get it. The transfer window tends to pick up in July. Of course, the Euros doesn't help. Copa America doesn't help, etc., etc. But the only team I'm really seeing making moves so far, and we're going to talk about it on the stream later on this afternoon, is obviously Chelsea. Chelsea, I don't know, man. Them man need to be investigated for their transfer policies, because it's not making any sense, guys. And I don't mean it in a bad way or in a disrespectful way, but I don't know how they managed to just... Yeah, we're going to talk about Chelsea. We're going to talk about Chelsea off topic, but just no Lakers ain't seen a finals for a long time. Picking up Bronny tells me they came more about PR than winning. You know what? Just quickly on the topic of the Lakers, if you don't follow basketball, I'm going to quickly explain to you. The Lakers drafted with the 55th pick in the second round of the NBA draft. The Lakers drafted Bronny James, which is LeBron James's son. Now, LeBron James, the funny thing is, LeBron James opted out of his final year contract, which I think kind of put the ball in the Lakers' court, which is basically... If you guys do, he would have been an unrestricted free agent, meaning he could have listened to offers from other teams as well. But he basically told the Lakers, I'm going to opt out, draft my son in the NBA draft, and then I will sign again. He's not got long left. Let's be honest. LeBron James ain't got long left. He could probably still play for another... He's like Cristiano Ronaldo. He could probably still play for a number of years. He's on year 21 now, I think, or year 22. When his son was a little kid and LeBron came to the league, he's still averaging the same number of points. Do you know how ridiculous that is? That is so ridiculous. And of course, they're going to be the first ever father-son duo to ever play together, ever, in the NBA. It's crazy. LeBron James documentary, when it comes out 10 years from now, however many years from that, I think it might be better than The Last Dance. I'm not even joking. I actually think it might be better than The Last Dance. Imran says, Ugarte is what we need. This is what I want to know about... Because I think the profiles of Ugarte versus Amadou Onana. Let me just pull up some. I want to pull up something on here that I forgot. Where is it? I don't know. I personally, I'm not fully sold on Ugarte. Personally, I did think I did think Amadou Onana was the better option, just also because of the Premier League adaptability. However, I don't want to be harsh and judge Ugarte just off of his time at PSG. I know at Sporting he was much better at Sporting. Um, so I don't want to be too harsh. I do think the situation at PSG was just kind of unfortunate. I think he can play high level intensity, which is what you need. You kind of someone to break down the opponent if they're attacking, someone to counter pressure, etc. Good. He's a destroyer, basically. He's a destroyer, and if that will allow Kobbie to play a bit more advanced up the pitch, then so be it. So be it. I'll be happy with that. I think there's a lot of aspects that come into it. I do think Amadou Onana, one thing about Amadou Onana, as good as I think he is, I just feel like there's something missing in him. I do feel like there's something missing in him, and so much he's been labeled as this like box to box, or I feel like because he's a person of color, that he's like, as a black man, they just label him as a box to box, and I don't think he is that. I think I'm more comfortable with a player like Ugarte because he can play deeper in a deeper role, which will allow more freedom, and he can do it more comfortably, can get the ball forward, can progress the ball. It's just someone that you need that can put in a shift. Someone that you need that can put in a shift. And it's so funny because him and Onana are similar in age. I won't say their profiles are exactly the same, but similarly priced as well. So essentially, like I said, United, if they go in for Ugarte, are basically, they might as well just give the money directly to Everton and just do a freeway switch, because the money that they pay for this guy will just fund them buying Onana, which is good for them because that means that they're getting a full on, I don't want to say refund, but it's not going to be profit, but they are making back exactly what they paid. So that they'll be okay with that. And of course, you lot know what football is like in League On. Revenue is very low for clubs, so they have to try generate revenue in other ways. Get Yusuf Fofana. I think Yusuf Fofana should be the second signing. Personally, I think, I feel like there's certain positions Man United have to scout one or two players for and buy one or two players for, and I think midfield is one of them. I would absolutely, you lot know me, you lot know how much I rate Yusuf Fofana already. I would absolutely take him at Manchester United, especially at the price tag that he'll be available for. He's going into his free agency year next year, so he's on his last year of his contract. AS Monaco are definitely trying to offload him. If United had the extra money there and they wanted something a bit more long term, I would rather look at his partner Mohamed Kamara than Yusuf Fofana. Personally, I would look at Mohamed Kamara instead, because I just think he came into Monaco. If you lot have watched Monaco over the last year or two, he came into Monaco and just slotted in perfectly to replace Tchouaméni. Like I don't want to say that Monaco felt Tchouaméni's absence, but he definitely just fitted like a glove. Like, that OJ Simpson, the glove situation in court. It was something like that. He fitted in so well, and complemented Yusuf Fofana so well. And Mohamed Kamara, to me, is a box to box. He's an engine. To me, he's an engine. Someone that can get up and down the pitch. I don't think United will get him, just because I think he's going to be priced a lot higher than someone like Yusuf Fofana, especially because they brought him from RB Salzburg. And this is the thing. United, hopefully in the coming years, will start going directly to the sources, i.e. the RB Salzburgs, etc., rather than going to these other clubs that kind of pick players from those leagues and then develop them for a year or two and then sell them for high profit. Hopefully Man United will put themselves in a position in the coming years where they can just approach RB Salzburg or something directly to sign a player, rather than waiting for that player to come to the French league or the Spanish league or something and then going for him. What is Onana's price? That's probably why we ain't in for him. Well, the price that I've seen for Onana reportedly is 55 million. However, I'm seeing differing prices everywhere I'm going. I am not gonna lie. I'm seeing different prices. Let me just double check. Let's see what his price tag. They're saying a 50 million price tag. That's what Goodison News is saying, which is an Everton outlet. They're saying that it's a 50 million price tag. Let me see exactly. It's reported that Everton are actually ready to sell him as well. What did I miss about Zirkzee? Don't worry, we haven't touched on Zirkzee just yet. It's reported that selling Onana for 50 million feels like Everton might get shortchanged. Despite this, they need to balance their books, which I think they brought him for less than that. So it would actually be pretty decent for them. They brought him as well as a 20-year-old raw player from the French league. And I think he's been all right at the Euros as well. You don't know, I've spoken about Amadou Onana before, and I do like the idea of him, and I do think he's a good player. If we just kind of look at right here his defensive stats in terms of how active this guy gets active on the pitch. This guy gets active on the pitch. You see the squares are tackles, 51 tackles, 40 of them being successful. You see he attempts 3.5 tackles per game, which is not so bad. He's got good ball recovery, fouls quite a bit in comparison, you know, to the number of tackles to fouls. There's about a good 50-something% of it is fouls. So it's pretty interesting. Clearances, ball recoveries, etc. It's within the better side of stuff. But you know, guys, you lot know I don't like to weigh my opinion too much based off of graphs and stats and all of that stuff. I just kind of like these kind of visuals. It's helpful to see. But from what we've seen on the pitch from Everton over the last 2 years, funnily enough, I think I did say that I did think that Everton were going to sell him after 2 years of buying him, which is essentially what I think clubs like that do. No disrespect to Everton, but I do think clubs like Everton, Forest, etc., they'll buy players in the hopes of, you know, buffing them up a little bit and then being able to kind of go on and sell them on. In terms of the two of these, and let me know in the chat, guys, because I do want to know your thoughts about all of this. It's reported that Manchester United do want to agree a deal with Ugarte instead of Amadou Onana. Now, I don't know exactly why they want to turn him down, but it's reported that Ugarte is a priority for particularly Erik ten Hag. In terms of the two of them, both of them, you know, play in that little deeper role, that defensive midfield role. And Onana has actually been linked to leaving Everton for some time now. It's actually, I think it's been the last season he's been linked to leaving, especially because Everton have been kind of short on change and they need the financials. Ugarte would be, people think, and this is the discourse that I've seen a bit, is that people feel like Ugarte will be the better signing for Manchester United in terms of long term, in terms of, you know, looking at stats and like pass percentage, pass completion, you know, ball recoveries, defensive breakdowns, etc. He's recoveries, tackles, he exceeds in all the stats. You know, if you're a stats merchant and you're a data person, in all those data analytic driven sections, Ugarte surpasses Onana in all of them. Now his valuation, I think, has decreased since joining PSG, just because him in Luis Enrique's system is not really worked out for him. But if PSG are able to recoup that 51 million that they spent, easy. I test 100%. I always say, man, I test first, data and all of that second. Minoo, who's your favorite footballer? Who's your favorite midfielder in the last decade? Mine is Moussa Dembele and Pogba. Mine's Pogba, man. Mine's Pogba. He's the only player that played for Manchester United that's left that has an emoji here on my channel. He's the only player who I used to religiously buy his football shirts, guys. Every single season, I would buy a home, away, third, or I'd at least buy home and away, or like I'd buy at least 2 shirts. I think there was one season that I bought 3 shirts, home, away, and third. All of them said Pogba. My cousins said that I was absolutely crazy. They were like, what the hell is wrong with you? You're obsessed with this guy. Even when he's at Juve, the only thing that I don't buy personally is his France shirt, because I wouldn't wear a France shirt. But I got his Juve shirt when he went to Juve the season after leaving United, just because that's him. He's a top guy. I personally prefer number 6 that prioritizes passing, like Carrick. Both of them probably ain't that. I mean, right now, I don't know what kind of do you think character do you see Manchester United need in that midfield? Do they need a destroyer? Do they need a physical demon? Do they need a box to box? Do they need someone who's a good passer? Do you think that they need someone? Because for me, I think they need a good passer, but they also need someone that is comfortable in being in front of, like, being the last guy in front of that back line. Now, the way that I see it happening is if Ugarte does join, I think Man United are going to play in a way where Dalot is going to shift it. Like, I think there's going to be 2 people in the midfield, and especially with Lisandro Martinez hopefully staying fit. If he is able to stay fit, you don't necessarily need a pinging passer like Carrick. Ugarte is a good passer, way better than Amadou Onana, by the way. But if Lisandro Martinez is able to drop or kind of shift into that role right in front of the midfield, it will be comfortable. It will be comfortable for a player like Ugarte to play next to him. And also, I think language is a big thing. Them and they're all South Americans. They speak similar languages. I think. Hopefully, they don't hate each other. We need a Jorginho type 6. Ugarte is very clunky on the ball, but if that's what the manager needs, then so be it. We need a DM who can carry the ball and technically sound. I think Man United, one thing that we've lacked for so long in the midfield is physicality. Like, I think since Matic, we haven't really had a physical midfielder. So my only hope is that when I say physical, I ain't talking about Casemiro where it's like you can't run, but I want someone who's able to not get barged off the ball. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not always, you don't have to be physical all the time to be able to keep the ball. We've seen, you know, players who are smaller in stature that can dribble comfortably, Iniesta, etc. Them man there, they like Iniesta, Busquets, all of them guys are prime examples of you don't have to be big and strong to be a physical player, because if you're technically sound, nobody's getting the ball off you. But I think United right now in the market are not going to get that. You know, you look at the players that have those kind of skill sets and they're going to be worth 100 plus. You see João Neves, which is a player that United have been linked to of recent, 120 million release clause. That's never going to happen, guys. That's never going to happen. I think you know, with Kobbie Mainoo especially and Bruno Fernandes now, my dream, guys, my dream is for United to sign Musiala. But that's why it's called a dream, because I wake up and I face reality. I know that's never going to happen. But if I had a player like Musiala in Manchester United and I had a player like Kobbie, I would like a 6 that can just guard the back line, can progress the ball, that can pass well, because you've got other people in front of you that their main skill set is passing. Their main skill set is things like getting the ball forward, dribbling, etc., etc. So in what you lack, other players would make up for it. Now, a DM in particular, you have to think in this day and age. I think the priorities have kind of shifted. You look at the midfielders that are around right now, the Rodris, the Rices, etc. in the Premier League, and you look at how it's kind of changed. These players need to be good on the ball. They have to be good on the ball. What's his name? Declan Rice gets criticized a lot for not being able to progress the ball all the time. I see the conversations all the time between Arsenal fans about what he might lack, and I've seen pundits also criticizing him as well. Players have to be good on the ball now, no matter where you play in. And I think Jose Mourinho was talking about it, or someone was talking about it, saying that basically they always blame Pep for it, by the way. I saw Wayne Rooney blaming Pep the other day on TV for the way that certain teams are playing at the Euros. But they always blame, you know, systems and the day and age of football that we live in, where players always have to be good on the ball. They have to, whether you're a defender, whether you're a goalkeeper, whether you're a striker, a winger, a midfield, whatever position you play, you have to be good on the ball. And I think with Manchester United in particular now, kind of what they're lacking is a midfielder that's good on the ball. We have people like Scott McTominay. We have people like Casemiro. We have players that are not necessarily great on the ball, but Casemiro has this thing where it's like he can just snap a good pass out of nowhere. And, you know, for so long, I think because he played next to the likes of Cruz and Modric, like I said, when your teammates have personalities or characteristics that make up for what you lack, people ain't going to pay attention to it too much. People will not pay attention to it too much. Rajat says, need Ugarte. Mainoo, we're looking at him a long time. Apparently United have been in for him for a minute. Ed says, Rice isn't as good as the media hypes him to be. With Jorginho there, it helps him more. That's true. That's true. Z says, I can't believe people would take Onana over Ugarte. I mean, the discourse that I'm seeing around right now online is quite it's kind of like, what's the word? Different. It's kind of different. It's reported, by the way, that Arsenal, who were interested in buying Amadou Onana a couple months ago, apparently Everton quoted them 80 million. I don't know how true that is, but I'm reading an article right now. But what does Onana have? And to anyone out there that wants Onana over Ugarte, tell me, what is it that Onana has that Ugarte doesn't? I'm very curious to know what he was, because I could imagine Onana being a Thomas Partey replacement for Arsenal. I could see that. I don't know who Arsenal have been linked to over the last couple months, but I did think that maybe he might have been a Thomas Partey alternative. I don't think that is going to be the case anymore. That's obviously just my assumption. But You know, if you do want Amadou Onana over Ugarte, guys, please, I want to know why. Please let me know in the chat. Just comment down below. Just let me know. I think Amadou will go to Bayern. Do you think so? Because I know Bayern want him. But also Bayern want Ugarte. And also Bayern are just buying everyone right now because they're selling like 5-6 people that are going to bring them in a good fee. They're selling the likes of they're selling who are they selling? They're selling the likes of Kimmich. They're trying to sell Mazraoui. They're trying to sell Ligt. They have been, and this is true from Rajat, they have been linked to Paulinho. They've been wanting Paulinho from last year. I swear Paulinho flew out and did his medical and everything, and then the deal fell through. So I do think that he will. I do think Onana is more likely to go to PSG. From what it seems, he seems more likely to be going to PSG. Staffy says his ball carrying and passing range is better. I don't think so. I think if anything, his ball carrying, yes. Passing, no. Maybe physicality to an extent, but I think it's more so to do with the fact that Onana is a physical presence. He's so tall and his stature reminds me similar to Pogba, but he's not as good as Pogba. Like when I used to watch Pogba, and obviously they played in different roles, but when I used to watch Pogba, I used to think there's no way someone this tall and that long should be so comfortable running on the ball like that. There's no reason, there is absolutely no reason why he should be so comfortable with doing that. Whereas with Onana, I think he's tall in stature, but he doesn't look as comfortable as someone like Pogba did when he was on the ball. And like I said, it's not me comparing them like for like, it's just that they're similar in their physicality. I think Pogba was more agile. I think with Ugarte is more agile. But again, that's more so to do with the fact that Onana is quite tall. So it's like Varane. When people watch Varane and he's on the ball, because he's such a slim and tall defender, people always think he looks awkward on the ball, and the way that he runs and that kind of stuff, he looks awkward. Basically, it's not as aesthetically pleasing. Basically, that's what I'm trying to get at. Paulinho would suit company's Pep ball system. I need to know what company's ball system is at Bayern Munich, because I think it's easier to kind of analyze him at Bayern Munich when he has class players. No disrespect to Burnley, but at Burnley, I think it's kind of more difficult for him to do that. But I do think, I think Paulinho will end up there. I think Paulinho will definitely end up at Bayern Munich if they can get the deal done. If they can get the deal done, he'll probably end up there. And it's funny, guys, because this is how you know. Let's just compare Paulinho, Ugarte, Onana for a second. Not compare them like player wise, but compare their situation. Paulinho got brought for 20 million, yeah, and Fulham are now trying to sell him for 60 to 70 million, yeah. Onana got brought for 20 something million. I think it was just under 30 million. Everton put a 50-60 million price tag on his head. Ugarte got brought for 50 million, and PSG are saying just give us back that 50 million. That's the thing, is United's recruitment strategy needs to be now similar to these other teams in the Premier League and in other leagues as well, where we are buying players for lower value when they've got a higher ceiling, not to sell them on, but to keep them long term at the club. People like Fulham, people like Onana, they bring in these players. So people like Fulham, people like Everton bring in players like Paulinho and Onana with the intention of selling them on. United's recruitment approach should be similar in terms of how they are scouting these players, going to places such as, I don't know, like the mid-table teams in France, Portugal, etc., Salzburg, going there and buying these players with the intention of developing them and keeping them long term. For me, that's what I'd be happy with. Realistically, is that going to happen? I don't know. Onana has longer legs. That's true. I can't argue that. Kevin says Onana is not as good as Partey on the ball. Yeah, Onana I don't think is that amazing on the ball. I do think he's good on the ball. Big up to reality says salam minna salam. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good Friday. Be sure to hit the like button, guys, and be sure to subscribe if you've just come through. Quickly before we kind of end this, just quickly in the chat say, guys, who do you guys want? Ugarte, Onana. By the way, their price tags are quite similar, but a part of me thinks it'll be a lot more easier for United to negotiate with PSG than it will be to negotiate with Everton. I think Everton are going to hold out for that kind of big fee. So just quickly in the chat, let me know below, Ugarte or Amadou Onana, who are you leaning towards? And yeah, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. You can join the Minions gang. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content. And of course, you get to support the growth of the channel. If you want to support the channel in other ways, you can by sending in a super chat with your comments, with your questions, with your appreciation if you just want to do that. And that supports the channel. And if you want to support the channel in another way, just hit the like button, just subscribe. I'm trying to get to 5K before the season starts. We're about 500 or so off. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. Reality says none. I want Tchouaméni. Tchouaméni is the future for Real Madrid, so I don't think he's coming here, unfortunately. Ugarte easily. Ridwan says good thing is they're both at a good age, not too young, not too old. Yeah, I think they're about a year or so apart. I think who's older? I want to say maybe Onana's older. I'm not too sure. One of them is 22. One of them is 23. Off topic thoughts on Bronny James. I just spoke about it before. I was saying that LeBron definitely opted out of the final year of his contract and became an unrestricted free agent to see who's going to draft him and if the Lakers are really going to draft him. And I don't know if you saw, guys, this is off topic, yeah. I don't know if you saw, if you watch basketball, Rich Paul, who is Adele's boyfriend, funnily enough, but also LeBron James's agent, was saying to teams, do not draft Bronny James because he's going to play in Australia. It's like he was saying, he's trying to put everybody off of the thing. Now, I remember watching a review after the NBA Combine, yeah, where some NBA analyst was saying that no team was impressed with him. So I'm just shocked how it went from no team being impressed with him to the Lakers, one of the greatest NBA franchises, drafting him. I can't lie, I'm going to support it because I love a good story, yeah? Father and son duo. LeBron James is going to have one of their best stories, yeah, when he retires. Most points ever in the NBA. He got drafted by his hometown straight out of high school, 16 years old, straight to the league. No college, no nothing, straight to the league. Went back to his home team, won them a championship, for the first time in 30 something years. Was part of that big three dynasty at Miami, then the big three dynasty at Cleveland, then came to the Lakers. This guy his story is going to be ridiculous. He married his high school sweetheart, gave a job to his best friend to be his agent. Listen, his name is going to be that documentary of LeBron James. I know it's going to hit like crack. Excuse my language, but it's going to hit like crack. It's going to be better than The Last Dance, because I know The Last Dance was solely off of like everything on the court. But LeBron James' story is more than basketball. It really is more than basketball. The bro opened a school in Ohio, in his hometown. He opened a school. Then he got his son drafted to the league. And then they're going to be the first ever father-son duo. I don't think unfortunately for his son, yeah, I feel bad for Bronny James because he's going to live in the shadows of his father forever. Like, people are always going to be like, oh, you know, your dad he was so great, blah, blah, blah. And this guy's going to average like 7 points at best. 7 points at best in the league. I don't see him being a 20, 30 pointer, yeah. But I see even analysts saying that Bryce James is actually a better basketballer than Bronny James. But Bronny just got the name, and obviously he's the firstborn and all of that. Most people in the US don't care. Yeah, I don't think they do. But I just seen people talking about nepotism. Come on, guys, man. Nepotism exists in this world. If that was me and I could bring my kids through to opportunities, you know damn well I'm doing it. You know damn well. If I opt out of a contract and I say to my team, listen, if you want me to stay, draft my child, I'm doing it. Because if I'm eating, my kids are eating. But side note, guys, yeah, just before we get back to Manchester United talk, side note. If my father was LeBron James, do you think I would bother even having a job? Absolutely not. I would not waste my time having a job. And full respect to Bronny James for wanting to write his own story, but I think he's just going to live in the shadows of his father forever. I really want to see if Cristiano Ronaldo will wait as well to try and play with his son. But that's it. That's that on NBA talk. I'll definitely watch the season opener. It'll be so funny to see that. LeBron James gonna dish out the ball to Bronny James. He's gonna miss an open free, and his dad's just gonna stare him down. Imagine going to work and your dad's there. Imagine that. You see your dad at home and then you see him at work. Every day you're at practice, your dad's there. You go to play a game, your dad's there. You're traveling to other states to play games. Your dad's there. Bronny James ain't going to be able to have any fresh air. His dad's going to be everywhere. His dad's going to be everywhere. He can't get gal. He can't get gal. He can't be moving to gal in clubs. His dad's there. It's so jokes. This is why I respect Shaq. He said his money is not his kids' money. Listen, I respect Shaq for that. But personally, I'm talking as if I got money. But, if I had generational wealth, that's generational wealth. That wealth is going down all the way 5-6 generations down if it can make it that far. If I'm eating, all my kids are eating, all my family's eating. Matthias de Ligt, I feel like we talk about this guy every day. But some little update. It's not really a detailed update, but it is a little update on him. It's reported that Bayern Munich want 60 million Great British pounds. I don't know who they think he is. I don't know who they think they are. But 60 million pounds for Matthias de Ligt, it better come with a second player as well. Because Manchester United are reportedly only interested in paying up to 30 million. So there's always seems to be a clear divide in the valuation of players for Manchester United. In particular, it seems to be the defenders. There seems to be a valuation difference between the players that Manchester United, how they value them versus how the team values them. I do think the whole Harry Maguire situation is still biting United in the arse. Teams know that Man United, in the past, were willing to pay stupid fees for people like Maguire, for Sancho, for Casemiro. So I think they know maybe if they hold out and they hold United for ransom, United might be willing to pay it. However, I personally do not think Matthias de Ligt is worth 60 million. I don't think he has. For someone who has bounced around as well since leaving Ajax, I'm saying bounced around, but it's only 2 teams that he's been at. But the reason why I'm saying that is he hasn't really been able to solidify himself in either team. Juve, okay, fair enough, he was in competition for some spots, but Eric Dyer came into to Bayern Munich and got into the starting team a lot quicker than De Ligt did. De Ligt only really came in when Kim Min-jae, I'm talking about Champions League in particular, but when Kim Min-jae was making errors, especially in the knockout stages, I think it was the second leg he came in. Of course, he's also competing with people like Upamecano, Kim Min-jae, but now Eric Dyer as well. He's bottom of the pecking list. He's bottom of the pecking list. And that's why I'm saying he's kind of bounced around since leaving Ajax and hasn't really been able to solidify himself into a starting lineup. And maybe third time might be lucky. Maybe third time might be fortunate, but definitely not at the expense for me at the price of 30 million. I think that's way too much. 30 million from us is ridiculous, but equally 60 million from Bayern is equally wild. 50 million should be the max. He was Bayern's best centre-back in 22-23. This season, injuries have hurt him. Tuchel hasn't liked to rotate this season. That's the thing. I want United to stay as far away from players that have struggled with injury. Let me look at his injury record quickly. Matthias de Ligt. Just give me the light. That's the only reason why I want him to actually come to United, guys. I know I keep saying it, but that's why I want him to come to Man United, just so I can sing Just Give Me the Light. All right, let's see what his injury history is saying for this club. This season alone, he's missed quite a few games, actually. He's missed about 20 games this season from various different injuries. He had a calf injury, a knock, inner knee ligament tear, inner ligament injury. So it looks like he's had 2 reoccurring injuries where he's missed 3 games, 9 games, 6 games, and 2 games. Prior to that, last season, he missed 5 games. Prior to that, 2 games. Do you think because the way that I see it is, players are unfortunate sometimes with situations, but it might be a situation where it might get worse for him. His injury process or progress might get worse for him. And I think United should steer clear from that, especially when it comes to defenders. When it comes to defenders and how important defenders seem to be for the way that Manchester United and Erik ten Hag want to play, please let's go for players that do not have underlying injury problems. It does seem like Matthias de Ligt does have an injury issue now? At what point do we start saying that something is an issue? Is how many times does an injury have to reoccur or a different injury have to keep happening for fans to be concerned about an injury record? I think if you're missing 20 games in a season and you're playing and your team's playing 60 games, you've missed one half of the season, 1/3, sorry, of the season to injury. And then that doesn't include the fact that you have to spend another, after coming back from an injury, you have to spend a week trying to get match fit. And then from being match fit, you're at the bottom of the pecking list when it comes to being in that starting 11. Matthias de Ligt does have the short end of that straw. I do think that there will be definitely more alternatives to come up. And United seem to have this idea of certain type of defenders. It seems to be Jared Brantwaite. It seems to be Mark Gahey. It seems to be Matthias de Ligt. Lenny Yoro is going to Real Madrid. I've kind of just accepted that. Todibo, it might not happen because Man United are choosing to take legal action now against UEFA as well. So I guess we got to just sit tight and see what happens. But Bologna reported this morning straight out of Italy, Bologna have reportedly informed Joshua Zirkzee that he must make a decision on his next club before the end of this week. Now, I don't get why they're saying the end of this week, because the week has ended. At the end of are you saying he has to make a decision by the weekend? I thought them kind of stuff only operate over Monday to Friday. Now, also coming out of Italy from sources related to Bologna, say yesterday there was positive contact that took place between Manchester United and Joshua Zirkzee's agent, with them closer to an agreement on commissions. Zirkzee to Milan seems to have called and he is moving towards United. So it does seem like if there is something hindering this move right now, it is agreeing terms with the agent. I feel like agents just have so much power in football nowadays, or just generally in sports. They do have a lot of power, but I feel like in football, agents have so much power when it comes to commissions. You're seeing clubs playing. I saw, when was it, Manchester City, I think the year that they signed Haaland, they apparently spent nearly 50 million in commission across multiple different signings. And of course, agents agree commission with the team that are buying them. They have to pay agent fees to kind of get the deal done. And if that's the reason that's holding up this move, that should not be something that United should allow to happen. Like, if you've agreed personal terms with the player and you're happy to pay the release clause, which is a relatively low release clause compared to what we've seen across other release clauses, I think it's 40 million euros, which is like 34 million pounds. Hopefully this will be the first deal that kind of comes through for Manchester United. And I'm saying hopefully, we're just not kind of sure. I think one way or another, Zirkzee will be a Manchester United player if the same thing that happened to Arsenal and with Benjamin Sesko does not happen, i.e. he agrees new terms with higher salary and a higher release clause. Hopefully that does not happen, but it does seem that Bologna are happy to accept Manchester United. Manchester United have notified them that they are willing to pay the release clause and essentially just need to sort things out with him. Now, Marcus Rashford is another player that finds himself in the topic of conversation. It's transfer time, isn't it? He's always going to be the topic of conversation somehow. He's always going to be a topic of discussion somehow. It's reported that Manchester United are open to listening to offers for Marcus Rashford to leave the club this summer amid interest across multiple different European teams. Now, especially with being in talks with PSG, which is one name that we spoke about yesterday, which seems to be the name that is surrounding Marcus Rashford at the moment. There is some murmurs and some whispers about Saudi Arabia. I just don't think there's anything kind of cemented in that. But if Manchester United are truly willing to listen to offers for Marcus Rashford, then it will be very unfortunate. And you lot know my stance on it. I think it will be very, very unfortunate. Let me see what has happened. Is there any news on Erik ten Hag's thing? No, there isn't. So this is the current situation with Marcus Rashford. There isn't really any moving pieces, and I don't think Marcus Rashford's move or potential move depends on other people. You look at, the change in kind of his last 2 seasons, and there has obviously been a dip in form. I don't hold your breaths, guys. Don't hold your breaths when it comes to Marcus Rashford leaving the club, because I do think it's very much just up in the air, and I do think it's just paper talk for now. But another player that is expected to definitely leave the club is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. News coming straight out of Turkey. Turkish news sources reporting that Galatasaray have officially made a 15 million euro offer for Aaron Wan-Bissaka and are waiting on his on Manchester United's response. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is open to a move. He's been linked to other clubs in Europe, and Galatasaray is also based. They're based in Turkey, and I want to say it was Fenerbahce that was linked to him as well. There was another team that was linked to him, but Inter Milan has been linked to him I think it was in January times, during the January window, that they were actually linked to him. This is the first, I guess, cemented bid that has been put in for a player at Manchester United so far, and it's coming from Wan-Bissaka. Do I want him to leave? I think he's a good backup option. I think he's a good alternative, but I do think Diogo Dalot has kind of cemented his role. I don't know where Malacia stands now at the club. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what it is with what's happening with Tyrell Malacia and all of that stuff. But if United do sell him, they won't recoup a fee of what they spent on him. But they'll manage to get some money in for FFP, which it seems to be the route that Ineos are kind of going down. So if Aaron Wan-Bissaka leaves, who comes in as a replacement and how much? That's the thing. I don't see United buying a right back. I think they've got their hearts set on Diogo Dalot being the answer to right back. I just it don't make sense for me. They're selling him, but he is approaching the final year of his contract. Excuse me. So it does make sense that they're looking at alternative options to see where he could kind of head down, where he could go, and where they could kind of make some money on. It kind of makes sense to me now. If United get a better fee for him, I'd be open to the idea of selling him. I think 15 million isn't something that you just run with if you get that opportunity, because I think you could get a bit more for him. He's another steady Eddie, another guy that gets the job done, defensively sound. Of course, going forward, he might have his flaws, but you know what you're getting on the package. You know what you're getting on the package. It's kind of like very much like defender, right back, defensively solid. You know what you're getting. There's no deception. There's no, oh, I can do trickery and I can overlap and I can do this and I can get forward. I can be inverted, all of that stuff. We know where Aaron Wan-Bissaka's strengths are. We know where his flaws might be. And of course, we know what you're getting with him. And that's why I just think he's a steady Eddie, supportive player, gets the job done. Man United could keep him and could do with, a backup option. But essentially, I just think with Ahmad Barada's philosophy, where if players are not performing after a certain point, you kind of part ways with them. I think that's where it might be heading down. And big up to Nuruddin. I'm running out of words. I'm actually running out of words. Nuruddin has gifted 50 subs again. It's just, my screen is just tick, tick, tick. Everybody's getting a membership right now in the chat. Big W's in the chat. And remember, guys, big up to Nuruddin. W's in the chat, guys, for Nuruddin. Gifting 50 memberships. I think like every stream this week so far is ridiculous. Big up to him. What a legend. Big legend. I need to get him an emoji in the chat for Nuruddin. So maybe I will use his profile picture and just put that. So every time he drops memberships, we can drop that. If you do not have it turned on, guys, please turn it on. There is a little wheel thing. If you're watching on your phone, if you're watching on your laptop, on your TV, whatever, you need to click on your settings under this video in the chat, and you need to turn on your option to get gifted memberships. Otherwise, you cannot get memberships. And like I said, there's memberships flying around on this channel very, very often. Let me see who got a membership courtesy of Nuruddin, the gift that keeps on giving. Big up to Omar, got a membership. Raphael, Aaron, John, Abdiaziz, Ram, Justin, DR Reed got one, Yusuf got one. Damn, so many of you lot got one. Josh got one, Jacob got one. So many of you lot got gifted a membership. My screen is just moving like this. Sai got one. Darwin got one. Ed says, I feel bad for the couple people who didn't get gifted. Jarvis says, big up. Big W's in the chat for Nuruddin, and make sure you thank him. If you got gifted a membership, make sure you guys thank Nuruddin as well. Big up to Nuruddin. Always being generous here on the channel, and it's very, very much appreciated. Last but not least, we're going to wrap it up with some England talk, but we will be doing a Euro stream tomorrow, hopefully, before the games. I think the game starts at 5 tomorrow, 5 and 8. So I'll probably do a stream way early in the day, maybe around lunchtime. But it's expected that Kobbie Mainoo is going to have his first start at the Euros in the round of 16. Can we just talk about, guys? Can we just talk about his progression this season? Just this season alone. He went from making his debut 16, I think about 18 months ago. January, he made his debut a year and a half ago. And look at the progression that he's made at such a young age. And to a point where I'm seeing pundits talk about him. And of course, I could say it's Manchester United bias when it comes to people like Paul Scholes, Roy Keane, etc. when they talk about Kobbie Mainoo. But a lot of England's weight in midfield is centered around the idea of Kobbie Mainoo playing every single time. And for me, you know my opinions on Southgate. I don't think he's a good manager. I think the fact that he's struggling to get something out of such a good crop of players says a lot. That says a lot. But Kobbie Mainoo should be in the team. And the only thing that I'm concerned about when it comes to Kobbie Mainoo is that inevitably England are going to play bad. Whether it's round of 16, whether it's 8 quarters or semis, England are going to have a stinking performance that Kobbie is going to be a part of. He's going to be on the pitch. And the media are going to run after him. And Erik ten Hag said it himself after the FA Cup, where the English media are so quick to uplift a player or a manager and so quick to drag them down. I just hope that inevitably when England have that blunder, I hope Kobbie's not part of it. But Kobbie will be a part of the round of 16 knockout. He's expected to start alongside Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham. Look at the 18 months he's had. He made his debut when he was still in the academy team under 21s. Went to pre-season with Manchester United. Unfortunately, got injured, so that kind of made him take a couple months back. But came in when was it? November, Everton game, bicycle kick that Garnacho scored, and since then has had a ridiculous season. He's actually had a ridiculous 9 months. He went from being in the academy to being a starter in Manchester United. Then he skipped, by the way, the age groups for England. You go 16, 18, 21 senior team. He skipped under 21s, went straight to the first team. My only worry is that England cannot protect him the way that Manchester United can from the media. Manchester United can protect him by not making him do media duties. Manchester United pick players to do media duties. They can choose not to pick younger players. They used to do that with Mason Greenwood. Kobbie Mainoo is very, very well spoken. However, it will not save him when the media come after him. And we know that because we've seen what happened before the Euros started when they went on a witch hunt over after players such as Bukayo Saka, Kobbie Mainoo, etc., etc. We know that's going to happen. But I will be rooting for him 110%. You know, I'm not for the Euros. I'm not. Maybe this is my bias, but I ain't really rooting for anyone in the Euros. I'm just rooting for whoever has Manchester United players. And of course, England have two Manchester United players. One of them I forgot completely exists. But good luck to Kobbie Mainoo. Hopefully Southgate can utilize him to his best of his abilities. And I know people are just waiting on one mistake, one error to jump at him and attack him. So hopefully that won't happen. Big up to Riri, been a member for 6 months. Says, who needs a pharaoh when we got King Nuri? Nah, man, I need the king and I need the pharaoh. I need both of them. Big up to both of them. Big up to the pharaoh and big up to King Nuri. It looks like Nuruddin has got his name now on the channel. It's King Nuri. That's what we have to call him. But big up to everyone. Like I said, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe if you've just come through. If you are watching this back on stream, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. We are not too far off from 100, so make sure you do that. We will be live in about 30 minutes where we're going to talk about all other things. We'll talk a little bit on Manchester United, a very tiny bit, But we're going to talk about Liverpool being in for Anthony Gordon. We're going to talk about Romelu Lukaku potentially reuniting with Conte. We're going to talk about Kvaratskhelia. I think I said it right, guys. I think I said the name right. Kvaratskhelia being linked to a move with PSG, and Napoli accusing PSG of approaching the player behind their back. We're going to talk about that. And we're just going to talk about a lot of other stuff as well. Some Premier League moves that are happening, Chelsea, Leicester, etc., etc. So make sure you lot come through. What time are we live? We are live. Lukaku is a scrub minute. I know. Chelsea are trying to get 35 million for them. Arsenal are trying to get 50 million for Nketiah. We're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about that. We will be live at 6:15. So that's about in 25 minutes. So make sure you lot come through. Make sure you turn on your post notifications. So when I go live, you will get notified. And then later this evening, around 8:30, we will be streaming Elden Ring for all my gamers, for all the people that want to see me make a fool of myself, for all the people that want to see me get scared or just keep dying in the game. Make sure you lot come through. A lot of you lot are saying that I can't play the game and I won't beat the game, and I'm here to prove you lot wrong. It's as simple as that. But like I said, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe. I hope to see a lot of you lot in about 20 or so minutes on the next stream. And if you are watching this back on repeat, make sure you guys hit the like button. I'm out. Peace.